Hi, and welcome to my channel again. so, sorry it's been a while. I haven't made a video. So I also um, have a new setup. As in, I just bought a Mac AirBook Pro, something like that. So um, hopefully the resolution will be a bit better. I've got some natural lights, so it's really just what comes through the window, and it's not a particularly sunny day, so in London, so it's a little bit grey, but I kind of like it. It's just me looking natural. So um, I thought I would do like a story time. Um, with a bit of a not a twist, but sort of like a meaning behind it, kind of thing. Not just for the sake of the story. And it's not like a very very long story. It's just something that like I think it's important for me to remind myself of as well as telling everybody else that you just don't know what the future holds for you. Um, Sorry, I noticed something here. So years ago, 10 years ago exactly, actually 11 years ago, I bought the flat that I'm living in, in London, thanks to also my my family help, which I'm very grateful for. And at the time, I that was kind of like obviously like a eventful thing. It's a big thing to have your own property and to being able to live on your own, especially in a city like London where everybody kind of like shares their flat and has flatmates or roommates as they say in the States, because I know quite a few of you are in the States. And I remember before that, before buying my flat and kind of like finding some sort of stability in that sense, for a long time, in my heart, sometimes I would think, um, well, when I am more stable in my job, which is the time where I became a bit more stable in my position, I kind of moved up, I got promoted, and my salary increased, not massively, but enough to make a difference in my everyday living. And in my heart, I don't know, I always thought, and this is in my 20s, um, one day, I'm going to, um, if I find myself, with like a job, like a sort of more steady, not steady, not that it wasn't steady, but more settled, with like a proper job, I don't know what the proper job is, but what I thought at the time, and um, and with the flat, with the house, I always thought, what am I gonna do after that? I'm probably gonna sit there. I'm probably gonna, all I could think was like, I'm gonna sit there and then I'm gonna change sex. And it's kind of like, um, you know, it's not really a story, but when I was thinking those things, I wasn't really aware that that's actually what was in my heart. It was more something that came, from a place of, sort of even almost not subconscious. It's not something that I would say to people. It was almost those thoughts that you have yourself and you think you're crazy. As in that's what I thought. It's like, where does this come from? Is At the time I think I was in denial, but or I wasn't ready, and then this is exactly what happened. Yeah, I found myself in my own property. we did promotion in my life, we did um, in terms of my work, and just I think a few months after that, a few months, like literally, I think it was October, and then like by January, I started really having a going through what I call the crisis period, um, where I actually started increasingly, researching about trans people, going on YouTube and looking at transgender YouTubers, and um, really kind of started to look into it more and more, and not knowing, and almost like I couldn't stop myself from doing that. Not that I wanted to, but it didn't come without a lot of also pain. It wasn't an easy time for me. I shared it with a friend, like really close friends, and even my really close friends, one of them wasn't really understanding, what is going on. He told me something like, "Well, what are you gonna do? You're just gonna be an ugly woman, and then what are you gonna do? Work in a post office?" Almost as if to say, who's gonna take you? Even like what kind of future are you gonna have for yourself? And then another close friend of mine was actually really lovely and accepting, and it was like, I wouldn't, if one day you turn up with high heels and a skirt, I'm not going to be surprised, and I'm not going to be the one to, I think it's going to be great. Like it was his way of saying, I'm going to accept you. But it was a really difficult time, and I looked for a psychotherapist, and I started seeing a therapist, which was, something I needed to do for myself, because I need to get that out of myself. I needed to say, and going, like it was literally a process where every day, every week, every month, I didn't know how I was gonna get through the next month. All these things were coming up. Like, how do you change? How do you take? How do you? What do you do? Do you take hormones? How do you do this? And laser hair removal, and that was just the physical part. You know, the psychological, the hardest part was actually, stepping out in the world as a woman, you know, that be another story time. So the moral of the story, I think, is that, even today, life doesn't change, in the sense that, there's always something in my heart that um, I strive to uncover. There's always the next piece of the puzzle that is my life, and the next step in terms of my happiness. And like sometimes I think I know in my heart where that is gonna go, but I'm scared, and I'm not sure. One thing that is coming up for me. Um, anyway, some I sometimes I feel like, I know I'm gonna go back to my home country one day. I'm gonna go back to Italy. And be closer to my family. But I don't know. It's kind of like sometimes I have gotten close to it, and sometimes I just feel quite distant from it, and I feel like, quite scared, and how am I going to deal with it? It's a big change. I live in a one of the biggest cities in the world. I have a very busy life. Well, very busy life. Busy life, just like everybody else. And sometimes I wonder, is it one of those thoughts that you have in your heart? in your mind, but kind of like, but you kind of don't know, you know, how that is going to materialize, or you kind of feel like you're even just a bit disconnected from it. It's kind of like, yeah, maybe it's what I want, I don't know. And then, one day you find yourself, kind of going, oh my God, this is what I wanted all along, just like for my transition, basically. So that's the my story time. It's not like a real kind of story, with like characters and everything. It's probably just a reflection on my journey, and but I do intend to do proper story times with some details, more juicy details in it. Not that this is not juicy, because some people will love it, some people won't like it, but this is me, and I can only do me. So, having said that, um, I love you all if you are nice, which you normally are, and I shall see you soon. Stay happy.